Police, there's some new developments this morning in that deadly attack against Iranian dissidents who are based in Iraq. There's a refugee camp called Camp Ashraf. It's north of Baghdad. It's where more than 3,500 Iranian exiles have lived for years. But now the United Nations is calling for an investigation into exactly what you are seeing there on your screen. Iraqi security forces raided that camp 10 days ago, and 34 Iranian exiles were killed. The attack sparking concerns that the Iraqi government could be doing Iran's bidding, but the U.S. has been standing by and letting it happen. Is Tehran telling Baghdad what to do? John Bolton is the former United States ambassador to the United Nations, a Fox News contributor who joined. We talked about this. You talked about this last week. It seems like the massacre that the world knows nothing about. Mass killings, and the world is quiet. What happened?
Well, you know, the government of Iraq has successfully kept foreign journalists away from Camp Ashraf. They're doing a better job of suppressing freedom of the press than the government of Muammar Gaddafi at this point. And that's one reason why details are scarce. I think it's significant that U.S. military personnel belatedly went back into Camp Ashraf after the attack and basically confirmed what the Iranian exiles were saying. It was very brutal, over 30 killed, dozens more badly injured, and it's one reason why the UN, of all places, has called for an open investigation to find out what actually happened.
Is this why we've given so much sacrifice for a free Iraq to have this happen?
Well, this is very troubling, not just because of the idea of sending the military in against people who have been determined by the United States government to be protected persons under the Fourth Geneva Convention, but to have the government effectively doing Iran's bidding. That's really the only explanation here. These people in Camp Ashraf aren't a threat to anybody in Iraq or in Iran, but obviously they're a burr under the saddle of the mullahs in Tehran.
So do you think that Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki and the rest of the Iraqi government are doing what they're being told by the mullahs in Tehran?
Well, that's certainly the logic of the situation. If it's not the case, they need to speak up, and Prime Minister al-Maliki needs to explain that he is prepared to carry out the agreement that the newly sovereign government of Iraq signed with our military authorities in Iraq as part of our withdrawal, that they would afford these refugees at Camp Ashraf the same protection that they had gotten from the U.S. military in the years after the overthrow of Saddam Hussein.
Now, the State Department's calling for an investigation. Do you think the administration has done enough?
No, I don't think so. I think the military people, our military people on the scene, were very upset about what they saw, and I think part of the reason is confusion in the policy of the United States government itself. You know, Secretary of State Clinton is under a court order to review whether the MEK, the umbrella organization of these Iranian dissidents, should be removed from the terrorism list, and that's been pending for quite some time. That's a decision that needs to be made quickly. Many people who have looked at this feel that the group should be removed from the terrorism list.
Well, the Iraqi government says it has a terrorist designation. That's why they moved on the camp.
Well, that's contrary to what the U.S. military did. You know, 3 former chairmen of our Joint Chiefs of Staff, Hugh Shelton, Dick Myers, and Peter Pace, have all called for the terrorist designation to be lifted. Former Attorney General Mike Mukasey, Obama administration, National Security Advisor General James Jones. The list is very impressive. It's hard for me to believe that they, myself included, that they or anybody else who thought that this group might have any connection with terrorism would endorse delisting them.
So what should we do with these people? You have 3,500 or so Iranian exiles. Should we give them sanctuary? Should we give them political exile here in the United States? How do we protect them?
Well, you know, we undertook the obligation when our military forces were still dominant in Iraq, and I think we've got an obligation to make sure the Iraqi government upholds its commitment. Under general principles of international refugee law, the country of first asylum is responsible for giving protection and assistance to legitimate political refugees, which these people are. So that's Iraq's responsibility in the first instance. Now, if they can work something else out for the Camp Ashraf inhabitants to go on to another country, then I think we should help assist in that and consider taking some into this country as well.
Well, it's very troubling and disturbing if indeed these people have been attacked in the way they have, and if indeed it's coming from Tehran.